So he started asking questions about the school, the population at that time, the staffing. Some of the questions that he asked were this.
So did he express interest in the school? You could see passion.
I could see from this man that the love he has for this school is so much.
Wow.
So much that he wants to see this school develop very well. Then he tried to compare other schools and then asked whether my school is doing very well. I told him yes, but there's still more to be done. He looked at me almost after the conversation and he asked me, Mr. Akonu, can you help in the development of this school? Is it possible you can do it like you have done in other schools? At that moment, I became unsettled. And I didn't know what I said. But immediately what I opened my mind, what came out of it, yes sir, I will do it.
So did you ever at any point in time hear him or his wife complain or regret for coming here?
Never.
They never complained?
Never complained. Anytime you did anything, whether it was I mean, they were just so content with the situation that they found themselves.
Never complained?
They never complained.
Not even once?
Not even once. Not
and you were really very close?
Very, very close. Very close.
Wow.
Very close.
It was on records that Ghana, no wheat can be grown in Ghana. It was on records in Ghana history that wheat cannot be grown in Ghana. But we experimented it on this land.
And it was
very useful.
Very, very successful.
Successful.
Wow.
100% successful.
Wow.
So that.
This first-hand experience of the underdeveloped world has worked as a backdrop for the efforts of His Holiness to help the underprivileged. Right from the onset of his Khilafat, His Holiness has strived to make provisions for at least the basic necessities of life for such parts of the world. On the 23rd of April 2017, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmed, may Allah be his helper, inaugurated the Al-Ain Mobile Eye Clinic, which serves as part of the Gift of Sight scheme run by the charity Humanity First. The clinic facilitates eyesight tests, basic treatment and surgery to people living in some of Africa's most remote towns and villages. Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmed, may Allah be his helper, also oversees the work of the International Association of Ahmadi Architects and Engineers, IAAE, an organization made of Ahmadi Muslim engineers, architects and technologists who carry out various development projects in deprived areas of the world.
Remember, it will always remain our duty to serve those who are less fortunate, to care for them, and to seek to remove their pain and hardships.
Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmed, may Allah be his helper, has continued to expand, develop and consolidate these projects, and under his leadership, the scope and expertise of these organizations have grown leaps and bounds. One may wonder that these are the needs of the third world country, but what about the needs and humanitarian work for the modern Western world? Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmed, may Allah be his helper, is a leading figure in promoting peace, justice, equality and interreligious harmony. Through his sermons, lectures, books and personal meetings, His Holiness continually advocates the worship of God Almighty, service to humanity, the establishment of universal human rights, and the need for a just society. Since being elected as Caliph, he has led a worldwide campaign to convey the peaceful message of Islam through all forms of print and digital media. National branches of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community have launched campaigns that reflect the true and peaceful teachings of Islam through various interfaith and peace symposia, exhibitions of the Holy Quran, mosque open days, and more. These campaigns have received worldwide media coverage and demonstrate that Islam champions peace and service to humanity.
I think, as His Holiness said, the core truths of all the major religious faiths are universal: love and tolerance and peace. And I think actually there is so much in the media that would seek to portray religious people as at odds with one another, when in fact I think, as we see here tonight, the reality is very different.
The message of the Khalifa was a message of peace, understanding, message that all the religions of the world have to speak to each other. We are all the descendants of Adam that was created by God, and therefore we are all brothers. And as brothers and cousins, we have to treat each other in such a way of understanding and peace, not to confront each other, not to have fight in the world, but to try to do as much as we can to work and pursue peace.
Welcomed to Canada's Houses of Parliament by Prime Minister Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmed, may Allah be his helper, delivered a historic keynote address at the Canadian Parliament, stating,
Irrespective of differences of background, I believe that on the basis of humanity, we are all joined together and should therefore be united. All people and all organizations must collectively endeavor to uphold human values and strive to make the world in which we live a better and far more harmonious place.
The efforts of His Holiness and the Ahmadiyya Muslim community are continually praised by large audiences from Capitol Hill to the European Parliament. His Holiness continues to lead thousands of people through a time of great global skepticism and animosity towards Islam. Due to the charitable schemes he has been guiding, millions of lives in the poorest parts of the world are being improved. Undoubtedly, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmed, may Allah be his helper, is a man of utmost piety, righteousness, simplicity and austerity. A man blessed with divine guidance, who has made the impossible possible. His altruistic example has touched and stirred innumerable hearts and minds across the globe. A caliphate not just for one people or one community, but a caliphate for the whole of mankind.
It requires that a person does not rest until he has solved the problems of others and takes the weight of their burdens onto his own shoulders. It requires that a person's heart is consumed by a love for others, whereby he cares not for his own comfort, but rather he cares only for the comfort of others. It requires that a person is ever ready to personally absorb all forms of distress for the sake of others, to consider the pain of others as though it is his own pain. It requires that a person is ready to bear personal suffering or anxiety so that others can live in peace and contentment.
सच है कि कुछ ऐसे भी हैं.
Africa has always been an important home to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, which has led various khulafa to make regular visits to the continent for nearly the past 50 years. In April 1970, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III became the first Khalifa to visit the continent. He wished to gain first-hand knowledge of the Ahmadiyya community in Africa and to assure the people there he would continue the good work of his predecessor, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih II radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, under whom the Tehreek-e-Jadid scheme was established, which sent the first missionaries to Africa and began the establishment of Ahmadiyyat on the continent. During his 9-week tour of West Africa, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III visited Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and the Gambia. He witnessed and experienced much during his tour, seeing firsthand the conditions the people there were faced with and living in. So in Gambia, he was inspired to launch the Nusrat Jahan scheme, the purpose of which was to serve the African continent by opening schools, hospitals, and clinics. The visit was documented in the West Africa Weekly of London, which spoke of the visit of the Khalifa, the energy of the community, and the coverage it received. The next Khalifa to visit would be Hazrat Khalifatul Masih IV on his own tour in 1988. He would go on to visit the same countries as Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III rahmahullah in his tour of Africa. Due to the growth and the impact made by the Ahmadiyya community in Africa, this time the Khalifa was met by the President and Vice President of Ghana and the Presidents of Sierra Leone, as well as parliamentarians, ministers and chiefs. Later on in the same year, he would visit East Africa, going to Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, as well as Mauritius. The Khalifa was a firm believer in the people of Africa and believed that the continent needed investment to become self-sufficient. It could be said that it was through these trips that the seeds were sown for the creation of the charity Humanity First later on in 1994 by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih IV. The next visit was to be done by the current Khalifa. But his relationship with Africa would begin a long time before this. During the same Nusrat Jahan scheme founded under Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III in Gambia, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih V Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz was sent to Ghana, where he worked as a teacher for 8 years. Having an MSc in agricultural science, his work there led him to become the first person to successfully grow wheat in Ghana, called Ghana wheat. Then, becoming Khalifa in 2003, his close relationship with Africa continued, which led him to making his first visit there within just a year in 2004. On this trip, he visited Ghana, Benin, Burkina Faso, and Nigeria. He was once again to make a trip the following year in 2005, this time in East Africa, visiting Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. The aim of the Khalifa in these visits was to build a connection with the Ahmadiyya community in Africa, as well as oversee the various projects of the community taking place in Africa. It also included meetings with parliamentarians and ministers to spread the message of progress, peace, and love. He was to visit again in 2008 during the centenary tour, where he visited Nigeria, Benin, and Ghana, the last of whom commemorated the Khilafat centenary with his achievement of growing the first ever wheat plant with a stamp. All of this making him the Khalifa who had visited Africa the most in the history of Ahmadiyyat. And this had led to various advancements in Africa, such as the creation of MTA Africa, a channel broadcast throughout the continent with the state-of-the-art studios in Ghana, Mauritius, Tanzania, and soon to open in Uganda, Burkina Faso, and the Gambia. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih V has also continued the work put in place by his predecessors, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III and the Fourth, with the Nusrat Jahan scheme to this day opening 684 schools and 36 hospitals, and charities such as Humanity First having programs covering water, food, education, health and energy in Africa, directly affecting millions of lives.
I firmly believe that if the African countries and people unite together and fulfill the requirements of justice, then one day Africa will emerge as a true global power.
So it is clear to see that with every visit by the Khalifa to the African continent, an impact has been made that can be felt not only across Africa but beyond. And with the massive growth of Ahmadiyyat on the continent, you can be sure that there are many more visits to come.
इरफान इस्लाम हर सिमत जारी
Hazrat Khalifatul Masih II on the 8th of September 1950 in his Friday sermon said, "The promised Messiah said that I am departing from this world, but God will send the second manifestation for you." But our Lord does not only have the second manifestation, He has the third manifestation as well. He doesn't only have the third manifestation, He has the fourth manifestation, also followed by the fifth and sixth manifestation. And thus, the hand of God will keep showing this miracle to the world. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih II stated that the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, "When religion would be in danger, God will send few people of Persian descent to defend it. The promised Messiah was one of them, and so am I, and it is also possible that there may be others under this prophecy of the Persian descent who will be sent to uphold the magnificence of this religion and to strengthen its foundations." Just a few days after this faith-inspiring address, God sent to this world Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad. He was born on the 15th of September 1950 in Rabwa, Pakistan, the headquarters of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. He is the great-grandson of the founder of the Ahmadiyya movement, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the promised Messiah alayhi salam. Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad, Khalifatul Masih IV, passed away at his residence in London on the 19th of April 2003. On the 22nd of April 2003, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad's election as Khalifatul Masih V was announced.
Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu.
If we look at the situation of the world today, we realize that now, more than ever, it is a pressing and urgent need of the time for us to seek and pursue peace and harmony in the world. The desperate state of affairs in Syria, Egypt, Libya and Iraq also seems to be leading us down a path towards something far wider and even more devastating. Since being elected in April 2003, through the divine will as Khalifatul Masih V, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmed, may Allah be his helper, has travelled extensively to various parts of the world. He has delivered the same message everywhere, calling the people of the world towards peace, justice, tolerance and compassion. His words and guidance stand apart from the words spoken by all other world leaders, as he is not driven by any political or vested interests. He is driven only by a desire to spread the true and peaceful teachings of Islam throughout the world. In 2012, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmed delivered Islam's true message to two of the most important parliaments in the world. In June, he delivered a historic address at Capitol Hill, urging the United States to use its power and influence for the good of mankind and to bring about peace. In early December, His Holiness was invited to the European Parliament to address the leaders of Europe regarding the pressing needs of the time. An event was organized by Dr. Charles Tannock, MEP, in which His Holiness was able to address members of the European Parliament. Also in attendance were MPs from various national parliaments and a range of other dignitaries and influential people. His Holiness took the opportunity to remind the European countries of their responsibilities as member nations of the European Union. Huzur was also welcomed to the Houses of Parliament in London by the Deputy Prime Minister and various UK Secretaries of State and parliamentarians in June 2013. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih V visited Westminster to deliver the keynote address at a special reception hosted by Right Honourable Ed Davey MP, the Secretary of State for Energy and Climate Change, and the all-party parliamentary group for the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, in recognition of the 100-year centenary celebrations of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat in the UK. Huzur travelled to Singapore, Australia, New Zealand and Japan, promoting the message of peace. On one occasion he stated, "I have delivered the same message calling for peace and justice. On many occasions in different parts of the world, I do the same. I do not know how much impact my views have had on those who have listened to me, and I am not aware to what extent they are working towards developing peace within their own circles of influence. Nevertheless, I will, God willing, always continue to carry out my task and my responsibilities of promoting peace, tolerance, justice and compassion to the corners of the world. I will continue to tell all people that in order to be relieved of the pain and suffering that we face today, we must adopt true justice and equality. What is actually meant by justice, and what does it require? I shall now answer this question based entirely on the teachings of the Holy Quran. The words of His Holiness have an overwhelming effect on the entire world. With the blessings of Allah the Almighty, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmed, may Allah be his helper, will continue to show the world the true meaning of Islam Ahmadiyya, a message of peace, and lead the Ahmadiyya Muslim community for many years to come.